top 10 linebackers. I'm going to rapid fire through 10 through 6.
Yes,
Khalid will chime in where he wants to. But the first one up, Nick Bolton. You know, I don't know why I didn't think of Nick Bolton. And then you made me go back and change my list when I saw him on your list. I'm like, how the hell did I not have Nick Bolton on my list? And I think I put him at like number 8 on my list. Nick Bolton, to me, is the most underrated, disrespected, not the sexiest linebacker in the league, and just gets the job done. I'd be hard pressed to say that if you were to give me a linebacker that I can guarantee that's going to be consistent for a 10-year period, I'd probably pick Nick Bolton out of any linebacker in the NFL, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, he's played at a very high level for these Kansas City defenses. So being able to be the heart and soul of a unit that's been so elite and been to 3 straight Super Bowls, that's no small feat, right? I mean, I want to believe he was a 2nd round pick, when he was drafted, and if my Wi-Fi would load, I could actually confirm that, but it doesn't want to. So, yeah, for Bolton, he's drafted out of Missouri. He's been a consistent presence in that Steve Spagnuolo defense, and the way that he's deployed around the field, whether it's in run fits and coverage as a pass rusher. Is it 2nd round?
Yep.
Boom. I know my stuff. Well, yeah, just the way that Nick Bolton is deployed. I mean, he can do it all. And you look at the way that he elevates others around him, guys like Leo Chenal, right? Guys who kind of come into their own when they reach Kansas City. Of course, part of that is because of Steve Spagnuolo and his genius on defense. But I mean, playing alongside a great player like Nick Bolton always helps.
For sure, man. For sure. Let me turn this light down just a tad. Torque says Nick Bolton is everything that Devin Bush was supposed to be. Love me some Bolton. Hey, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Number 9 didn't play a ton, but my God, if I wasn't spot on, if Khalid wasn't spot on, if you didn't watch the film with us time and time again against Alabama, because that's the game that I watch more than the film over the last 3 years, I watched that Ederin Cooper game about 10 or 11 times, trying to find something I didn't like instead of something I did like about Ederin Cooper. He is going to be a stud. He's going to get 1st-team reps now moving forward. Everybody, wasn't he Defensive Player of the Week twice last year or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying he was undersized for the position. I think him and Quay Walker are going to be amazing together. I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait to see it for the rest of his career. Again, what a guy that just darts to the ball. He has, to me, if not the best, some of the best vision when it comes to knowing when to engage and disengage from our offensive line and not get touched and just make a beeline to the guy that has the ball. Amazing talent, man. I can't say enough great things about Ederin Cooper. He's probably my favorite defensive player in the league here in the next couple of years. Yeah, it was fun time watching him in college. He was really one of the only linebackers in the entire country who, if I had to put a spy on Jalen Milroe, Ederin Cooper is probably one of 2 or 3 players in the entire college football who I would feel comfortable, right, knowing that sideline to sideline he can track Milroe down. He's that fast. He's a threat neutralizer, and it's really awesome to see how he's come into his own as a complete playmaker at the linebacker position for Green Bay. Number 8, man. This one hits home a little bit. Jack Campbell at number 8. I think everybody in ECG had him in our top 10 somewhere. I can't tell you enough great things. I mean, even the memes from years ago, and I hope Dylan joins this live and sees this. When we were talking,
There we really had people talking about that. What's his name with the Vikings? What's that kid's name? Oh my God, why did I forget his name? We talked about him so much, but it was like him versus Jack Campbell. Ivan Pace versus Jack Campbell.
Oh yeah.
And then we really had people saying that they'd rather have Ivan Pace than Jack Campbell. And I was like, brother.
That is a tough one, my friends.
The scary thing about Jack Campbell is he hasn't even eclipsed what he can be at the next level.
No.
It's so
I remember thinking he was a reach on draft day. I do.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, just looking at where both he and Jahmyr Gibbs were drafted, I mean, I was like, the Lions, I mean, 2 first-round picks, and that's how you go and spend them. You spend them on a linebacker and a running back. And
he's the epitome of the Lions are the epitome of this list.
Yeah, and I was wrong.
Yeah. That boy's a beast. Number 7. The train that just keeps on chucking, man. Demario Davis from the Saints. Probably the best do-it-all linebacker in the league. He doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. Super underrated. And it just seemed like Nick Bolton. Why do these two guys, unless you really know ball, just fly under the radar every single year? But then ends up on the top 10 list, and it's like everybody remembers who he is.
It's just a lot of plays made by linebackers. They aren't flashy. Like occasionally, Fred Warner will make that insane tackle, insane diving, tackle, diving catch, whatever. Yep. But generally, your linebackers are kind of like the meat and potatoes guys. Like they're the ones who are they're going to grind every day. They're going to put in, they're going to do the dirty work. They're going to take on blocks. They're going to fill gaps. They're going to make plays in the backfield. And it's not as flashy of a position as a lot of other, spots on the team. But Demario Davis, he's been playing at an elite level for so long. It's almost like a voter fatigue. It's like, yeah, Demario Davis was good, but like, who else is out there? Well, not many guys out there are still better than Demario Davis is, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's it. He's still elite.
He's still elite. Number 6. I put out a post earlier today started thinking about some of the best guys that went from JUCO to FBS to the NFL of all time. There's 3 names: O.J. Simpson, Lavonte David, and Cam Newton are the epitome of that process. And nobody better than Lavonte David to represent the defensive side of the ball for sure. I don't know how he does it, man. I don't know how he just keeps chugging every single year. He's just a machine. Mm-hmm. And still kind of undersized for the position. I wanted to say this years ago, when we look at guys like Edgerrin Cooper, Lavonte David he paved the way for smaller linebackers to have the success that they've had in the league. He made coaches feel comfortable with having a speedier guy that was able just to fly around the field, that may be more undersized than even some running backs, but can just make plays.
Yeah.
Lavonte David ran or walked so Edgerrin Cooper could run. Like,
yeah.
So he's at the number 6 spot. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty, man. Mm-hmm. The more in-depth breakdowns. This one might surprise a lot of you because of the simple fact that he was hurt most of last year, pretty much the full season, and got hurt in the most important game of his life. The year before that. And this is Dre Greenlaw. I'm just put it like this. If you don't understand the impact that a guy like Dre Greenlaw has, where at some moments he can outshine a guy like Fred Warner on the field, not only is he physically imposing, he's absolutely ridiculous. 2023 on PFF, he had one of the highest overall grades for a linebacker, even with his partner in crime, right? He was, 8th overall on the top 32 list. And the stats that he puts up, again, when 3/4 of your tackles are solo tackles, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It had 2 of the most important interceptions in the playoff that year as well. So there's nothing that this dude can't do when he's healthy. He's physically imposing. He looks like he's created out of a lab. And from what the Broncos are saying, you know, is that even though he suffered a torn quadriceps while in training, apparently he's on track to be a full participant in training camp as well. The league's in trouble if he gets there on the Broncos a little earlier than what people are expecting.
Yeah.
Out of respect for everybody in the league, I can see how we kind of could have had this guy lower, but when we start doing our list, we think about not only his impact already, what his trajectory could be, and what his future looks like with the skill set that he has. And that's how we kind of figure out we can figure all of that into our rankings. Dre Greenlaw was just hitting at 4 and 5 on everybody's list. Like it was really tough for us to put him lower. He's a good player, man.
Yeah, he's someone who I feel like gets often overlooked when you talk about the additions that the Broncos made this offseason. It's easy to talk about, the Jahdae Barrons of the world, their draft class, and even looking at, acquiring Evan Ingram, right? From, after he was let go by Jacksonville. But having someone who has been at the biggest stage, right, in the Super Bowl, of course, the way that his last appearance ended with the Achilles tear running onto the field, right? Very hard to watch, especially the reaction from his teammates. Seeing that, it tells you a lot about what they think of him, not just as a player, but as a teammate, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you got guys, his brothers out there on the field in tears because they just saw a brother go down, right? They saw a teammate, someone that they're going and doing battle with go down. That's not easy to get over. But that's the kind of guy, who I want to line up alongside. That's the kind of guy I want on my team, in my locker room, leading me into battle, right, on the football field. Everything about Dre Greenlaw, not just the way he plays, but the leadership presence that he brings. I mean, it's perfect for a team like the Broncos that is kind of going through a shift in identity as they're continuing to get deeper into the Sean Payton era. Having a young leader like Bo Nix on offense, being able to command that side of the football, pairing up with a veteran who has played at the biggest stage and has played with some of the best linebackers in the game, like Fred Warner, having them both on the same team is very valuable, especially when Greenlaw, right? You pair him with one of the best cornerbacks in the league already in Pat Surtain. You pair him up with Brandon Jones, who was an excellent free agent signing this last year and made our top 10 safety list. I mean, he's going to be out there with Alex Singleton, I believe, who has been a tackle machine in Denver. The two of them together, that's a solid duo, right? Singleton plus Greenlaw is much better than just Singleton. So
yeah.
The way I see it is Greenlaw is going to open things up for a lot of other guys on this defense. And again, the leadership aspect, the brotherhood that we saw, the bond that he had with his teammates in San Francisco, bringing that kind of high character, right, high quality teammate to Denver, I think is perfect for the stage of essentially the stage of life that this team is in, right? This Broncos team. It's something that they need as they're looking to open a championship window in the next couple years, right? Mm-hmm. So Dre Greenlaw, the addition was great for Denver, and I mean, when healthy, he is absolutely a top 5 linebacker, and I'm excited to see what he can do in a new system, in a new environment. But yeah, despite the injury, it was hard to put him. It's hard to put him much lower, just because we know when healthy the talent that he can be, and we do anticipate him being healthy for this coming season.
Yeah, it was like, you know, the same analogy we used for Levante David and Ədrian Cooper. I'm going to use for him and Fred Warner. Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman walked so they could run. Like, how do you get that lucky to have, you know, a duo just as dominant when it comes to statistics as those two? And he reminds me a lot of what Navarro used to do too. Just like very good in coverage, very good tackler, could lay the boom on you, and physically imposing. Like, he's a big dude. Yeah, they're definitely gonna love him in Denver. I can't wait to. Just like I said before, Denver is the team to watch this year by all accounts, in my opinion. And it goes way beyond the Bo Nix thing. I mean, people can point to us and say, "You're saying that because of Bo Nix." No. What did I say in the video? 6 of their 7 losses were by 1 score or less.
Yeah.
They could have been a 16-1 team. That's just peel the layers back. If they had Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, you know, Jahdae Barron, and a healthy Riley Moss all year long who was balling out, you're looking at a completely different team.
Oh no, for sure. The one thing about the one game scores that I find really interesting, and I've held on to this nugget for a while, and probably need to confirm them getting the years correct, but when you looked at Minnesota, the Vikings, I think it was in 2016. I could be completely off, but there was one year where the Vikings had an insane amount of 1 score losses, right? Then the next year they went off, and it's like, whoa, where was this last year? Well, when you really look at it, right, with all those 1 score losses, you're a coin flip. Right, you're a couple plays here and there from winning all of those games and completely altering the course of your season, right? It's different when you're getting consistently beat and consistently pounded, but when you are consistently in games and barely losing them in year 1 of a new head coach, in year 1 with a rookie quarterback, with arguably a pretty depleted roster. Yeah, that is a team you watch out for, especially when they have the kind of offseason that Denver
I think the Denver.
So the Broncos definitely a team to watch out for. Again, we need to take a closer look at their schedule, see how it could play out. But if last season was any indication, with the additions they made, Denver's going to be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I forgot. There was somebody in our comments that was saying about 1-loss teams. I had to find them. See if I can find it real quick, because it was a very interesting comment, and it goes along the same lines of what you were saying. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Raiders, Broncos. I think this is it right here. 6 of the 7 losses. Yeah, all right. So sorry if you guys heard that. All right. So this guy said that's usually a sign that a team is about to pop off the following season. Could be wrong, but I'm a 49ers guy. And in 2018, we lost a bunch of games by a couple points. 2019 Super Bowl. So that's crazy coming from a 49ers fan. They're talking about, you know, Dre Greenlaw a little bit. And I think he was on that team, right? On the 2019 Super Bowl team?
Yeah, no, I think that was right before he was drafted. Let me double check. Because I believe he just got into his 2nd contract. No, he joined the Niners in April of 2019.
Yep, so he was part. That is so crazy how this came full circle. Like,
yeah,
a 49ers fan commented about the 49ers 2019 Super Bowl run. Well, no, he would have came after. If the Super Bowl was in 2019.
Oh, yeah, he got right after.
But still, 49ers had this, and now, you know, he's joining the squad where they're on kind of the same trajectory. That's crazy work. Number 4 on this list is the gift that just keeps on giving at linebacker, and that's Roquan Smith. Look, a lot of the guys and the college guys around here, people understand how much of a talent that Roquan Smith was at Georgia. And he just continued to produce since he was in the NFL. And then when he got moved on to the Ravens, everybody already knew what time it was, right?
Yeah.
And they just became a ticking time bomb that's, on defense, where they get, 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗏 and they get 𝗕𝙤𝙘𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀 and Kyle Hamilton, and they just got 𝗎𝙬𝑅 Alexander, and Nate Wiggins is sitting there who plays bigger than his size. Like their defense is pretty incredible on paper.
Yeah.
And even more so, the fact that they gave up Patrick Queen, who was an All-Pro at Roquan Smith in 2023, and they still were good. And so it's definitely next man up for them. Even though his stats indicated that he had a worse year, it was by the committee that they ran, right? Kyle Hamilton started playing more in the box, started playing more of a true safety than a nickel last year. You know what I'm saying? And obviously we had Kyle Hamilton in our number one spot at safety. When you look at their whole team, that's what good, not only defenses do, but good coordinators, they adjust to make them seem as strong as they were, even if they were missing pieces. Roquan is one of those guys that, like, again, he's the epitome of, like, I'm not the sexiest linebacker. I'm not going to go out there. You're not going to see a crazy highlight reel from him. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you, if you're on a different NFL team playing against Roquan Smith, you're like, all right, fam, how did you get over here? Like, how is zero everywhere? That's Roquan Smith, man. It's like if you're on a team right now and you're coaching, you're telling your linebackers to go watch Roquan Smith film. Out of everybody in the NFL, because he plays the position the way that it can be played in all facets of the game. And a lot of these guys on this list, the further we get to the top, the further they're more well-rounded in the things that they do. But Roquan, unfortunately for him, statistically, you have to consider that into these lists, right? Statistically, if he would have had a 2023 type season, we're probably seeing him probably in the number 2 or number 1 spot again. But fate has it where the Ravens were just such a good defense, but he's still talented as hell. Like, he's got like another good 6 years out of play from him if he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's another one of those guys, like I said, with Demario Davis, where you're just like, you're the meat and potatoes guy, right? You're classic solid meal, right? You know what you're getting when you have a guy like Roquan Smith. It's not flashy, but it's good, right? And Roquan Smith, with the missed tackle rate he has of any linebacker with 1,000 or more snaps, he's I believe it was 3rd, 4th. Let me double check one more time because I don't want to get this wrong. He is 4th in missed tackle rate with an excellent 6.8%. That's just a great figure, no matter what position you play in terms of missed tackles. And there's some really good names above him. But having a guy as reliable as Roquan is, especially year in and year out, is something that is truly underrated.
I agree
when it comes to him, because when you look at his missed tackle rate, the highest missed tackle rate he's ever had in a season, 8.9%, and over his career, 7.3. That is as reliable as it gets for a starting, for a star linebacker, and so for Roquan, right? And on a defense where there's stars left and right, they just added 𝗎𝙬𝑅 Alexander. They just drafted whomever. Roquan Smith is kind of like a glue where he is able to go around and make plays and can kind of bring everyone together, where you have excellent players on the back end, you have excellent players on the defensive line, and he's just in a cleanup role, right? Guys are going to be making plays all around him, but hey, one person slips up, Roquan's right there to make a play, and it's really cool to see him kind of play at a place like Baltimore, and heck, even Chicago to start his career. 2 places where there have been storied linebackers in the histories of those franchises. For Roquan Smith to be able to don both the uniforms of the Chicago Bears and Baltimore Ravens as an excellent linebacker, to me, that's kind of the dream, you know. If you're a linebacker and you want to go down in history, or you want to follow in the footsteps of the greats, the Chicago Bears and Baltimore Ravens are two of those places. So for him to have done that and to maintain that standard of success, very impressive from him. And yeah, it's easy to look at all the stars on that Ravens defense and be enamored, but Roquan Smith, he's a tough and gritty one in that group who's going to make the plays that other guys don't.
Yeah, for sure. Roquan Smith is, again, if you chose him on your team number 1 overall, I would say you're getting a great player for a long ass time.
Yeah.
And it's not fair for the league that he's on the Ravens, because he
blame Chicago for that.
The league messed up by letting him go to the Ravens. Just like the league messed up by letting Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton on the same damn team.
Literally, yeah.
The Ravens are going to be absolutely ridiculous, man. I cannot wait to see those guys this year. I know we haven't done our Super Bowl predictions, but it's going to be hard pressed for me not to say that the Ravens might not go all the way this year. Finally, they have a powerhouse. Dylan, rewind it back to the Jack Campbell pick. He said, "Did you guys forget Ivan Pace somewhere? I finally get to catch alive again in this busy life." Nah, I appreciate you, bro. Like, if you can rewind it back to Jack Campbell, because we did mention you at the top of the show when we were going through that. I think you'll like it. My man Chewy's in the chat. He said, "Where's Jermaine Pratt?" Jermaine Pratt did not touch even our top 20, brother. I can tell you that right now. Good player, but we're talking about the best, the cream of the crop right now.
Yeah, he had a good season this year. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at all of these guys, I mean, aside from 𝗕𝙤𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Cooper, right, who was a rookie this past season, it's year in and year out, right? They're producing. 𝗕𝙤𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, he produced an insane amount on such a low snap count that even as a rookie, he's able to crack our top 10. Because when he played, he was that effective. On a per snap basis, I'd have to look more into the exact numbers, but on a per snap basis, he may be one of the best linebackers in the league.
That's what to say. Hopefully you're trolling. He's somewhere outside of the top 20, if not the top 25. But yeah. Number 3. Again, man, it's probably the guy that you look at on this list and you're like, how is he producing at such a high level over and over and over?
Yeah.
Like, literally.
You think he's washed, and then you're like, oh, wait. He's
got 130 tackles again.
Yeah.
He doesn't get sacks, but having 2 to 5 sacks a year in his career, 10 tackles for loss, 4 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 for his fumble. B-Wags is one of those dudes, man, that not only is he a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, but literally we were banking on Bobby Wagner's career going to Washington and dying.
Yeah. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, he's, again, probably the best against the run in the league out of any linebacker. This is what he's been known for. If B-Wags gets his hands on you, it's over. One thing with the Commanders that he's been excelling at more than he did with the Seahawks is his pass rush ability over the last couple of years, which is crazy. He almost has revitalized himself into a different aspect of linebacker than we've ever seen. This dude's been to 10 Pro Bowls. 10.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps himself fairly healthy, and we're going to be seeing probably, I would say probably Bobby Wagner plays probably next year and then probably ends it, if not after this year. The thing is that Frankie Louvu is soaking this all in right now. Bobby Wagner's definitely passing the torch to him. and it's going to be hell to pay for the NFC East. Like they're going to have to, they're going to have to deal with Frankie Louvu. I'm sorry. I see Peyton Wilson up there. Peyton Wilson again, great player for what he did, but he's not the cream of the crop yet. And to me, he's got to do a lot more than what he did. But man, Frankie Louvu was a fringe player being in the top 10 this year. I'm telling you. I think he's, bro, you probably did the same thing. It was like at that number 10 spot.
Bro, okay, yeah, you know exactly. Yep.
And it was like Nick Bolton, 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝘲𝗀𝗀, Frankie Louvu. But Bobby Wagner is amazing, man. What a great career. What a great human being. He's what you call one of those pioneers of a player that did it the right way and had such great stats that people just overlook all the time. He's one of the greatest linebackers that have ever lived, which is crazy to think about.
Just
and he's still playing.
State.
From Utah State, yeah. So what you got on Bobby B-Wags?
Look, when he even went to the Rams, I was like, all right, he's in the twilight of his career. Let him ring chase, all these things. I didn't think that he would be a tackle machine, an instrumental part of a NFC championship level defense again. I didn't think that was ever going to be, the job description that his position held at any point in his career after he left Seattle. But here we are, over 100 tackles, a leader of a defense that just went to an NFC title game. I didn't have that on my bingo card for Bobby Wagner. And
I'm telling you, bro, I thought he would have been retired today.
Yeah. And he is of the top three guys. I think he's of everyone on this list, I think he's the last meat and potatoes kind of guy who I kind of look at. The top two I kind of see as a bit more flashiness in their play, kind of the more more their style of play is more, gets more for the fanfare, right? You get more excitement from watching them play. Bobby Wagner is not. He's never really been the type of linebacker that as a casual who sticks out to you, right? Mm-hmm. He has some big hits. He makes plays, but in general, he does the dirty work. And if you understand football, you've played linebacker, or you're a Seahawks fan generally, you understand really how critical he was for that team. And when you're a Rams fan, when he was there, if you're a Commanders fan right now, you understand how important Bobby Wagner is, because he just racks up the tackles. He's so smart. He's always putting himself in position to make plays. And again, that's part of where the veteran presence comes in. The fact that he has been in the league for so long, that he's played at such a high level, won a Super Bowl, right? And he's able to pass that knowledge on to an athlete like Frankie Louvu, who came over from Carolina. And, Louvu brings a very aggressive style of play. He's used kind of as a Swiss Army knife, kind of used all over the place. He'll be off the ball. He'll pass a rusher. What the heck? Golly. It's been a long day, guys.
Rush the
passer. He's going to rush the passer. He's not going to pass the rusher. That makes no sense. Guys, it's been a long day at school. Long day at classes. Business. Man. He is going to rush the passer. I almost said it again. And Wagner is able to bestow upon Louvu his Hall of Famer knowledge, the X's and O's, right, in the film room. I would love to be able to break down film and study the game with Bobby Wagner. He's seen it all. He's played against Tom Brady's and Peyton Manning's and Aaron Rodgers, right? He's played against Patrick Mahomes and now all of these other different.
You're damn right about that. Like, this dude has went through the gauntlet of the who's at quarterback in his career.
Exactly. Like,
wasn't it Drew Brees, Peyton, Tom?
you name
Went to the
it,
Super
right?
Bowl twice.
He has played against some of the best quarterbacks of our generation, some of whom are going to go down in history as some of the best quarterbacks of all time. And he has been the gold standard at linebacker through that entire period. So for me, Bobby Wagner, yeah, he's an all-time great. I would love to be in Frankie Louvu's position, to learn from him, to soak in the knowledge, right? If I'm Dan Quinn, he's a perfect addition to my team, the perfect veteran presence as I look forward, right, with this young team to try to win a championship before we have to drop the big bucks on Jaden Daniels. So, all of that aside, Bobby Wagner is still right, that gold standard, right? And if it weren't for a season that came out of nowhere, he'd be number 2 on this list handily. Right?
Yeah. One thing that I like that was said from Jaden Daniels is when he first got in the building, the first person that kind of took him under his wing was Bobby Wagner. That's crazy to think about. So there's a lot of respect for Bobby wherever he goes. Pete Carroll's talked about him. His time at the Seahawks, all his teammates talk about him. Marshawn, Richard Sherman, the who's, Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
It's never the person that you think it's going to be when they talk about somebody that they directly play with. It's somebody else, and it's always Bobby. Like, why is Tyler Lockett talking so highly about Bobby Wagner? It's crazy. You would think he's saying that about DK or Russ or Marshawn. No, it was always B-Wags in everybody's mouth. So
and get this, right? One last thing. If I'm Jaden Daniels, you know what I would ask him? I would go up to Bobby Wagner and I would say, hey, watch over my film for my rookie year. What are the things that, as a linebacker, if you were game planning for me, what are the things
on year 2? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like what can I do to improve? What tendencies do I need to break? What can I capitalize on that maybe defenses are going to be looking at so that when I go into year 2, I don't have a sophomore slump? See, that's the kind of thing that's the value that a veteran and Hall of Fame player like Bobby Wagner brings to the team. If I'm Jaden Daniels, I'm not just going to my quarterback coach. I'm not just going to 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Kingsbury. I'm going to Bobby Wagner, and I'm asking him, hey, break down my film. How can I get better? If you were Fred Warner, right? If we play the San Francisco, if you're Fred Warner, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? What are you picking up in my game that would try to be exposed, that would try to be exploited, right? So that way I can go and work on it myself to try to avoid that, right? So
yeah,
Jaden Daniels, this entire Commanders team, they're extremely blessed to have a guy like Bobby Wagner in that locker room and leading their defense.
I would love to hear everybody's top 10 linebackers in the chat. If you want to list it, spam us. I want to know. Shout out to the Rook. Shout out to Mr. Ray Fucho. Shout out to Dana and Dylan. Dana says he and Calais Campbell and Tom Brady and a few others, you just wait for the wheels to fall off and they don't. Pretty true, They're reliable like a Honda, man. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Love me some Hondas.
Number 2, I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, he's probably number 1 on a lot of people's list, but the number 1 spot is held by one man that we had last year. But the number 2 spot, all the respect for him from going from like worst to first, man. Like when we talk about worst to first transitions, a guy that you didn't hear about that was everything, that could have won so many more awards than he did, and that's Zach Bond. I said this before, I'll say it again. You probably heard me say this 1,000 times. The most important part of a defense is still tackling. It is. It's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles couldn't get over the hump for several years up until last year, because they were not a great tackling team. When Vic Fangio got there, he figured it out. They brought C.J. Gardner-Johnson back to help him, and they went out and they invested in guys that came from the Atlanta Falcons. That was a the New Orleans Saints. That was a special teamer, and Zach Bond, and turned him into a superstar. He's an all-pro linebacker. There's only 3 linebackers that get chosen, and he was one of them. It's a high regard. I'm not talking about a Pro Bowl. I'm talking about all-pro. That is, I don't think people understand how crazy that is. 5 forced fumbles led the league in. He was tied 3rd in the league in solo tackles. Even has an interception under his belt. You know, there's a reason why the Eagles rewarded him with a 3-year, $51 million contract extension.
They never do that for linebackers. Howie Roseman never spends money on linebackers. We had an all-pro in Jordan Hicks a while ago, and we didn't extend him.
Yeah.
It's you look back at the history of the Eagles over the last 7 years, they hardly ever keep linebackers. You know, they hardly ever sign them to big contracts. You look at guys like like I said, like Jordan Hicks left. Oh, nuts! His name's slipping me. TJ Edwards. You know, you let him go, right? Alex Singleton, after racking up tackles in Philadelphia, you let him go because you don't want to pay him. So the fact that Zach Bond got paid at a position that are one of the best general managers in the league, Howie Roseman, devalues, that says something about the year he had. The interceptions, the playoffs, right? The one in the Super Bowl, the tackles. And get this, okay? He played over 1,200 snaps on defense this past season. Not only is that a career high in a season for him, he had only played in 600 snaps in his 4-year career before this combined. 600 snaps in 4 years. Vic Fangio says, I can work with you. He goes out, he plays double the amount of snaps that he played in 4 years just this season alone, has an all-pro year, and is a defensive player of the year finalist. You don't do that on accident. It's a combination of coaching, scheme, and untapped potential. We'll see if he'll be able to keep it up. But with the season, the spectacular season that he had, it's very hard to say that he's not a top 5 linebacker, right? I know that Jermaine Pratt was thrown out there, and yes, he had a career year for himself, right? So did Zach Bond. Difference was Zach Bond was an all-pro, right, defensive player of the year candidate and Super Bowl winner on one of the best defenses in the league. Large part and thanks to him, right? That is, like, he is the only exception up here. Well, he and Edgerrin Cooper are the only 2 who have had only 1 year of high-level play. Cooper, because he was a rookie, and Bond, he's a career special teamer. And then he goes out there and does this, right? It's insane. The way that he is so well-rounded, he is able to make plays in coverage. And I mentioned this with Bobby Wagner, but Bond and the guy who we have at number 1, they both make the flashy plays. They rack up the tackles. Don't get me wrong. They're putting themselves in the right positions, right, to make those plays. So they're football smart. But when it comes to punching balls out, when it comes to getting those crazy interceptions, you know, the ones that make you get off your couch, get up on your feet, and just think, like, what just happened? Like, what just went on my TV? Zach Bond is one of those guys. Somehow, I didn't think we'd be sitting here saying this a year ago, but Zach Bond is one of those guys. He made those plays, right? Punching the football out, creating turnovers, catching some interceptions, right? Great year from him. And man, if he is going to be used as an example in so many players' careers of, you know, what happens when the right amount of preparation meets the right opportunity. Because in New Orleans, whether it was the fact that he wasn't given the right chances, it wasn't the right scheme, or he just wasn't putting in the right amount of work, whatever it was, it didn't work out for him. He goes, coached by Vic Fangio. He puts in the work. He fits the scheme. He goes out there and executes. And now he's regarded as one of the best linebackers in the league.
Zach Bond, and you know, we like to use PFF just as a reference for things, not take their scores as gospel, because a lot of us You know, a lot of us look past that, but and we watch the film and it says something different than what the actual scorer says. But using things as like advanced metrics that make sense, like defensive stops, for example, he had 79, which led all linebackers. Under PFF's definition of what a defensive stop is, a tackle that significantly hinders the offense's success on a given play. So we're talking about the 3rd and 1s. We're talking about the 4th down conversions. We're talking about the 2nd and 5s with the pass that comes across the middle and he hits a guy and pops the ball out. Those are the type of plays that PFF is talking about. And he has 79 of them. It's ridiculous. Torque says Patrick Queen, Logan Wilson, Bobby Spillane are honorable mentions. Man, Robert Spillane, I was fiddling with too. I think he gets.
Him and Frankie Louvu were both like right there for my 10 spot.
Yeah, Zaire Franklin too. Zaire Franklin was an interesting one. He always gets a ton of tackles. TJ Edwards is good. You know, y'all know how I feel about 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝘲𝗀𝗀. That dude should be an all-time Jaguar forever.
I can't believe that Atlanta let him go too. I was shocked. And
that's
then he
so stupid.
Just picks up right where he left off.
Yeah. Jason said, "Hey, I'm disappointed I missed this one in terms of being on the panel, but here we are." Yes, sir. Bond was insane last season, especially in that playoff run. He was so important. He was the most important. Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff came together for the Eagles, including him. And you have to give a shout out to how Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean played too. Cooper DeJean had one of the most important plays of the playoff on his birthday, getting a pick 6.
And you also have to remember that late in the season, his Zach Bond's running mate, Nakobe Dean at linebacker, went down with a knee injury. So he was running out there with Oren Burks. For a lot of that.
And Oren was good.
And he stepped up to the plate. But look, it's one of those things where if you try to poke holes in the Zach Bond argument, one is going to be he's surrounded by talent. He had Nakobe Dean next to him, another good linebacker. Well, when said good linebacker goes down, when you are, when you start to see guys around you go down, leave the game, you're going to be picked on a little more, right? Or your teammate's going to be picked on a little more. You're going to be asked to kind of help fill that void, because I'm sure when Nakobe went down, it's, hey, Oren, you're up next. Hey, Zach, we're going to need a little bit extra help filling in where Nakobe was. And he did just that. So to me, the argument for Zach Bond being in here is much stronger than the argument for him not. Again, I try my best to look at this from a non-biased perspective, but with the season he had, outside the top 3, 4, 5 is, I'd challenge that.
Yeah, if you have him lower than 3, I don't know. I just don't understand how you evaluate football. That's all I'll say. The Rook says, leave it to the Saints to let talent just escape them. Both Bond and Ellis are balling out on other teams. Got me so
Ellis,
tight.
Isn't he with the division rival in Atlanta now?
I think so.
That's tough, bro.
Zach Bond was different this past season. Yeah, of course. He was a special teamer before he got there. But all it takes is one coach to believe in you and help you step up past what you're at. One guy that's been doing it for the longest has been on top of number 1 on several different lists every single year. He was our number 1 linebacker last year, and he's our number 1 again this year. Fred Warner, absolutely ridiculous in everything that he does. Probably the best coverage linebacker in the league. You could go down the list and say he's good at this, he's good at that, he's good at this. Earned another first-team All-Pro selection again. Became the first player in 49ers history to record 10 sacks and 10 interceptions in his career. He's also tied for first in franchise history in passes defensed and second in forced fumbles against among linebackers. Oh, man. He had a fractured ankle all last season. Did y'all know that? Tell me if y'all knew that or not. Played 17 games with a fractured ankle. Brother, man. And statistically was at the top, in the top 5 of every category that you can think of for a linebacker. He's absolutely incredible. He's tough as nails. There was a 17.6 passer rating through the first 4 weeks of the season because of him.
Golly.
As a linebacker, Jason, we appreciate you giving out the gifted subs, man. My goodness. Appreciate you, brother. But with that being said, he's number 1 yet again.
Yeah, not up for debate. In my opinion, the way that he plays in every facet of the game, like Bond, he's a playmaker. He's a flashy playmaker. Even some of the tackles he makes, you're just like, wow, he was shot out of a cannon to make that tackle. Wow, like look at that. He looks like a DB, like a safety, running across the field to swat the ball away or make an interception.
Yeah.
Like, he should not be able to do like over half the things he does.
So when I look at Fred Warner, man, most complete linebacker in the game right now. His tackle machine. He's excellent in coverage. Yeah,
Can't
he can rush the
with that.
passer. If I were a quarterback, I think that part of my soul would leave my body if I saw him running up the A gap at me. So Fred Warner, yeah, second year in a row, my top linebacker. There's really not much to it than that. Not much more to it. Like when you break it down, he really is one of the best in all aspects of the game as a linebacker. And he has been up at least at the top, like near the top for years now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I got to give him his, gotta give credit where credit is due. So
yeah, I love Fred Warner, man. He's going to continue to do great things. He's going to be locked up as an all-time 49er. I think.
Better be.
And to be honest, man, we talked about Kalen DeBoer yesterday filling in for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Fred Warner had to fill in for Patrick Willis, man. And has solidified itself as the best linebacker in the league over and over and over again. I don't expect him to leave the top 3 anytime soon.
No, it would take something, some catastrophe for that to happen.
Yeah, and even let's just say even if he got hurt in a couple games and nobody really had like a let's say nobody had like the Zach Bond type season, he still might be number 1 on a lot of our lists just because we know who he is when he's 100% healthy. Look, he wasn't 100% healthy this year. It's still at the number 1 spot. So nobody's more of an impact on the defense than Fred Warner, especially at the linebacker position.